All right, my fellow Ambazonians, all man a place day. Shishik no day. Uh, my apologies for coming on late. Today, I'm very grateful to address all of you. I know we had a long outing the other day during an interview with Chat Night, and I'm grateful that some of you step up the plate in the defense of our cause. As I wrote the day after, Ambazonia is the only place where, in times of a perilous crisis like ours, journalists claim to be neutral. And I wonder if between 1939 and 1945, if the BBC for 1 second could have been neutral. Or during Desert Storm, if you thought CNN could be neutral. We are living in difficult moments. And everybody seems to want to survive above the interests of the collective. And people have lost their sense of sacrifice because of so many years of colonial domination. But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful because the majority of Amazonians, those who picked up arms, the lawyers and teachers who rose up, those in jail, refugees and IDPs who are still fighting wherever they are, and all of us recognize the danger in association with Cameroun. We recognize that Cameroun is like a Titanic that is going aground, and we either bail out or sink with Cameroun. And I think the Ambazonian people have made a firm decision and have made a firm commitment with freedom. And this is above a struggle simply for the notion of independence. As I have said repeatedly, we are faced with a barbaric regime that virtually has no respect for human life. We are faced with a system that has thrived on looting, on killings, on propaganda, and the perpetuation of everything that divides a people, impoverishes them, and keeps them in servitude. And they have made it absolutely clear, if you do not succumb to their antics, you have three places. You are either in jail, or you are in exile, or you are in the grave. They have been very clear about it. Mr. Biya has constantly, during his outings, denigrated every group of people who have risen up with legitimate concerns about his rule, the policies of Cameroun, and their method of responding to the entreaties or demands for political, economic, or social change. And we have also been very clear. There will be no middle ground as far as dealing with Cameroun is concerned. I know people liken that to extremism. We don't want to compromise. As I said during my interview, we compromise with our land. We compromise with our political institutions. We compromise with our economic infrastructures. We compromise with our lives, our liberty. There's virtually nothing left we can offer. And so everybody must know this. It is not the Ambazonian people in the past 63 years that have refused compromise. It has been Cameroun from 1961. They have used all forms of machinations, intoxication, bribery, and corruption, recruitment of thousands of Ambazonians, and turn them into traitors. I was reading a script from one of them today calling our country a Facebook republic. Ambazonia is a tangible state with international borders that are treaty-based, recognized internationally. We are a people, not even on the basis of the Banjul outcome, by virtue of the mandate, the trusteeship, by virtue of the natural topographic features that reinforces our borders to give us the opportunity within our homeland to build a common language, a common system, a common lifestyle. We are a people. And so for anybody to think we are a product of some division of an entity called Cameroon, you are engaged in self-deception. And that self-deception is what is leading to Cameroon's self-destruction. We have to be very, very clear about our journey, because that is what we can use to explain our position. This journey has been a journey where all leaders have compromised, giving up everything with a wild hope that maybe their surrender or capitulation will win the admiration of Cameroon, and some compromises. Cameroon has been very clear. They've seen us as some form of a lost territory, which they are the mother state to reclaim. And they have been absolute, not in the past, even now, about the fact that we are enemies. We are slaves. And according to them, we have no right to ask for anything. Because after all, human rights are only assigned to humans. And because we are not considered humans, we do not have the opportunity to enjoy human rights or even civil rights. So my people, Cameroon has not only denied our right to exist, it has made it impossible for us to survive as individuals and as a people by the very destruction of the foundation of our economy. They made it impossible for us to trade, to develop, and to create wealth, which is necessary for our survival. By the very fact that they destroyed completely and took over our political institutions, they made it impossible for us to organize, to make laws, to protect, or to codify norms and values. And they knew from the beginning that the foundation of Ambazonia's strength lies in their education. And I'm not talking about some classroom education. In our upbringing, in our nurturing from our homes with our parents, we were tailored to tilt towards values of compromise, tolerance, community, hard work. They knew that even the destruction of our socioeconomic and political institutions will still leave us okay through hard work. They then took over our educational institution, revised our history, determined the curriculum of education that we were supposed to have. The curriculum of education of every educational system is the most important barometer that you can use to measure economic development and growth. When your educational curriculum is designed by people who are bent on eliminating you from the face of the earth, you can expect the outcome of any education through that system to be worthless. And that's what most of us became. On the left, people line up on the road to exile. They decreed schools that they could never invest in. Our parents will invest in those schools. Amazonian teachers struggled to get the kind of education that they needed to be able to educate the next generation. They were paid so badly. Teachers had to become farmers, bricklayers, taxi drivers just to survive. And sometimes the measure of the worth of a teacher was not about how many qualified students they produce, it was about how many students they failed. And nobody cared. Because why should they, considering how they are treated? Thousands of our people, after graduating from high school, went over to either Biafra land, Nigeria. The very few who had the opportunity went United Kingdom, United States. Those who went to Cameroon became frustrated. We then went back on the street to demand for the creation of the University of Boya. It took lives and limbs to get that university. And they said they were going to teach us a lesson, since we had to compel them to decree a university. And in decreeing that university, they decreed the University of Ngaoundere, I think Yaoundé 2, Maro, and other places, so they can split the budget thin. And so Amazonians ended up in a university where there were neither computers within a computer department nor a lab within the science department. Everybody was struggling for certification rather than knowledge. Nobody understood the foundation that they needed to lay if they needed to be qualified professionally. And that's how the university has become what we call the glorious high school. We fought for the GCE board because students went to write exams. Exams were set in half-baked English and Pidgin, sometimes with French. Teachers fought, students fought for a board of education that can oversee the setting, marking, and validation of exams. When they surrendered, they put their cronies, and within a few years, they had hijacked the GCE board. At the legal front, the common law system that is very important in Ambazonia has been constantly undermined. The presumption of innocence, which is the foundation of the criminal justice system, totally destroyed. Every accused was already guilty. You have to be extorted to prove yourself. Their court systems was totally antithetical to the common law system. Political opponents were moved from one jurisdiction to the other, where they were passed through kangaroo trials, locked up incommunicado, subjected to torture, no proper legal representation, no financial support. We became hostages. Nobody could really provide an alternative. We had a wild dream that reforming Cameroon is possibly going to protect the Ambazonian rights to some form of internal self-determination. They organized elections, where in urban areas they appointed government delegates to oversee elected mayors. In rural areas, DOs became the de facto mayors. They did everything to emasculate the Amazonian people. As if that was not enough, even administrative districting Deals took over, mostly Cameroonian citizens. The few Ambazonians who became deals had to succumb or be fired or be transferred to long distance places totally separated from their families. Because they had no hope, they had to integrate and became part of the machinery of torture, fanning of intertribal wars, taking over of our land, selling those lands. They became the de facto chiefs. All the chiefs were custodians of our tradition, of our way of life, of the foundation of our being, held their position in abeyance to obeying the laws of Yaoundé, submitting themselves to the authority of the very butchers that have devastated their communities. The men in our chieftaincies and fondoms whom we revered became public laughing stocks as they bowed to colonial governors, colonial deals, became political appointees like the Angwafos. They rubbish the very essence of our being, made a mockery of the foundation of our lives that many generations before brave men had fought to secure. Cameroon declared its victory over us publicly and dared anyone who raised the finger. Those who tried met with immediate death. They knew France had their backing. There was no consequences. They knew they had recruited from amongst us millions of others. They knew the economic situation in Ambazonia had become so bad that millions had migrated into Cameroon and they will not bite the finger that supposedly fed them. They knew they had imprisoned, they had murdered the bravest of the bravest, and they had exiled others. That there was nobody left to challenge their violence, undermine their propaganda, and put them to shame. This is the arrogance of autocracies. And this is the foundation of the demise of all autocracies. My people, so if at any moment you have the feeling that maybe we are pushing so hard, maybe we are not making compromises, you should know we are coming from someplace called the Endelis, the Fonchas, the Joas, the Monas, and others who made meaningful compromises, ended up being humiliated. Some of you as old as half my age, if you happen to have been in Boya, you heard Pav Mona say, what kind of balok is this? You saw them travel to the United Nations to ask for help to undermine the very foundation they laid for coexistence. So it's not some stuff of our generation that we're concocting. I remember when we told Pa Tasang and the others, let's move straight, forget about this issue of trying to reform the educational system or the legal system. And they said, no, they can do it. What happened? Helicopter gunships. We all saw how lawyers were battered down in Boya, humiliated. And the very man who dared them sits in jail without any hope. No mercy, no pity. Their only crime, I'm not even talking about those who carry political baggage. I'm talking about teachers. I'm talking about not even teachers who taught in Ambazonia, those who taught in Biafra, those who taught in Nigeria, whisked from their homes, separated from their children. The monster showed who is boss, took them by plane back to their capital. Demonstration of power, no mercy. And for 8 years, they've not only denied our existence, they have denied our humanity. They have burned thousands of villages. They have roasted children in broad daylight. No apologies. They've massacred young men as if that was not enough. They kill our guys, get their bodies, and put them as trophies in the middle of the cities to send a strong warning to anyone who dare the master. That's what we are up against. And so you ask the question, do you want to surrender? Walk back through all the burnt villages, limping over the body of Mami Api, watching Baby Mata looking at you with a glaring disdain, walking over the bodies of all the fallen soldiers who fought so bravely for our country, back into the arms of the tyrants who laid bare our coast. Or you want to muster the courage, continue this journey that was started more than 130 years ago by the great Kuvalekenyes. Scale the highest mountains, swim across shark-infested rivers, knowing fully well that if you make it, there will be hope for millions of our people. Those who have died must not have died in vain. Those who've lost their liberties, separated from their families, wouldn't have done so in vain. Today, I come to talk to you about why we must muster that courage and keep going forward. And to let you understand some of the measures that we will institute will have some level of pain. We have to bear it. Some haven't even gotten the chance. They lost their lives. Think about the children of Ngabo. Think what happened to them between the moment their murderers showed up, the pain they felt. Think about you being a parent and having your kids killed on Valentine's Day. Think seriously like one of those parents, knowing fully well how painful their death must have been, but that the enemy had enough time to put the bodies together, poured fuel on them, lit a match, burned the bodies, stood by and made sure no parent could identify their child. That is Cameroon. And so for the measures we take and the disturbances that may create, that is far lower than the pain the parents of the Ngabo victims still feel up till this moment. My fellow people, national lockdown in the entire territory of Ambazonia begins tomorrow. It will run until the 23rd. Today, our normal country Sunday has gone very well, from Victoria right up to Bamenda. We have shown that we want independence. We want to be free from the nagging grip of Cameroon. And I ask each and every one of you to begin tomorrow with courage, with a big smile on your face, with a desire to sacrifice not only for the birth of our country, but in remembrance of all those who've given their lives. Just imagine how those in Kondengi got up today and saw the videos of the various cities and closed their eyes and said to themselves, thank God we have not been abandoned. Whatever you do in furtherance of our cause of freedom, you must know you are impacting the lives of those in jail in a very positive manner. You're giving hope to the mothers and fathers, the brothers and sisters who have lost their loved ones. We must vomit Cameroun. We must reject it in all its entirety. We must hate it. It has caused enough pain in us. And I know you ask, what's the alternative? We have presented the alternatives to you. And I'll take a few points in terms of education. Ambazonian education is skill-based and competency-based, as opposed to the rejected certificate-based indoctrination, morally depraved, and mass education system of French Cameroon. Ambazonian education focuses on individuals' holistic development to become creative problem solvers and world creators, as opposed to a system that is interested in mass production of unschooled graduates. Our education shall be officially provided even at homes. Homeschooling is part of our curriculum. Regulated schools, Ambazonian community schools, and virtually through online education. Every day, every time, and everywhere shall be used to teach our children, depending on their need and resources required. Thus, every minute, we will have a graduate from the Ambazonian school system who is ready from day one to positively transform himself or herself, impact their family, community, and country, Africa, and the world. This is the new orientation that the Ambazonian Educational Board is putting on the table. Learning is a continuous affair from birth to the end of time. Hence, we must stop narrowing it down to tie with the traditional obsolete system that betrays the very essence of education. On this note, I call on all of you, even those in exile, to log on to www.orionambazonia, one word, orionambazonia.com, to register for any course of study of your choice. Study at your pace, graduate, and you are done. Ambazonian communities should also meet under the leadership of the Ambazonian Transitional Authority, agree within their means, set up community schools, and run them following the Ambazonian curriculum of education, policies, and guidelines. Parents and guardians must not let their children get missing in the crowd. Thus, they are called upon to be the primary investors and masters of the quality and content of education that their children get at the table. Homeschooling will become a pillar of the educational system of Ambazonia, and we are putting in place with parents together the structures that will make this prevail. My fellow people, we have been trapped like prisoners for so many years that we know of just two opportunities: Cameroon or exile. We have never believed that we can create by ourselves something from scratch, work on it, perfect it, build it, and own it. All through the past 8 years, we have shown you when you thought it was impossible to create an army. With Changshu's, then guns, they have matured, they have grown of age. They are now so sophisticated that if you look back 8 years ago and you think of the arrogance of Yaoundé, you will never believe that we have the will or the means to attack, to undermine, and to humiliate Cameroon. Now, they believe they can defeat us through propaganda. They want to say our struggle is chaotic. So many people are dying, but they never tell you who is killing these people. Our people are suffering. Nobody explains to you who is the architect of the pain and suffering. As though you were stupid to know the looters, bandits, cartel bosses who ravaged our coast, looted Cameroon Bank, destroyed WADA, UNVDA, shut down Power Camp, closed Yoke Hydroelectricity Power Station, abandoned Victoria Deep Sea Port. They are the culprits. It's not the Ambazonian soldier, the man in the arena who is ready for victory or defeat, who is the source of your pain. The looters, the invaders, the anarchists, they are the ones who have imposed misery. We shall overcome as a people together, and we must stick together. God bless you all.